A single Gladiator biplane circles above the Libyan desert. The cockpit is open. The wind screams. Below, 14 Italian fighters climb toward him in formation. He is 47 years old. His hands are steady. Command thinks he should be training recruits, not hunting aircraft. In 6 minutes, the sky will belong to him alone. Spring of 1941. The western desert is a furnace of light and dust. The horizon shivers in waves of heat. RAF squadrons operate from makeshift strips scraped into hardpan, their aircraft baking under canvas that offers no shade. Mechanics work in goggles and sweat-soaked shirts. Pilots drink lukewarm tea from tin cups and squint at the glare. The war here is fluid. Borders mean nothing. Armies advance and retreat across hundreds of miles of sand and rock. Airfields change hands like poker chips. Supply lines stretch until they snap. The desert devours machinery. Dust chokes carburetors. Sand scours paint from wings. Engines overheat. Hydraulics fail. Every sortie is a test of endurance as much as courage. At Halea Pass, Italian and German forces press eastward. Rommel has not yet arrived, but the Regia Aeronautica owns much of the sky. Their Fiat CR-42 biplanes are nimble and numerous. Their Macchi monoplanes are fast. British squadrons are outnumbered, often outmaneuvered, and flying aircraft that feel like relics. The Gloucester Gladiator is a fabric-covered biplane introduced in 1937. By 1941, it is obsolete. Most fighter squadrons have transitioned to Hurricanes. The Gladiators remain because there is nothing else. In this theater, youth is currency. Most pilots are in their 20s. They have quick reflexes and sharp eyes. They can pull high G turns without blacking out. They recover from fatigue faster. The doctrine is clear. Fighter combat belongs to the young. But Hal Kirby is not young. He is 47 years old. A flight lieutenant with silver in his hair and lines around his eyes. He joined the Royal Air Force in 1915, flew reconnaissance missions over the trenches of France, survived the Great War, and stayed in uniform when others went home. Between the wars, he served in India, Iraq, and Egypt. He trained new pilots. He flew mail runs. He became a specialist in desert navigation, an art that requires patience and precision. While younger officers climbed the ranks, Kirby remained a flight lieutenant. He did not seek promotion, he sought airtime. When the Second World War began, Kirby was assigned to No. 33 Squadron in Egypt. His role was administrative. He was meant to coordinate schedules, manage logistics, and mentor younger pilots. He was not meant to fly combat missions. The reasoning was logical. Reflexes slow with age, vision deteriorates, recovery from injury takes longer. The RAF had thousands of eager young men. Why risk an aging pilot when fresh replacements arrived every month? Kirby disagreed. He did not argue loudly. He did not file complaints. He simply kept flying. Every chance he had, he climbed into a Gladiator and took to the air. He flew patrol missions, reconnaissance runs, and defensive scrambles. He logged hours when others rested. He volunteered for assignments no one wanted. His squadron mates noticed. Some admired his determination. Others thought him stubborn, even reckless. Command tolerated it because the desert consumed pilots faster than replacements could arrive. If an old man wanted to fly, let him. It kept the roster full, but no one expected him to excel. If this history matters to you, tap like and subscribe. Harold Arthur Kirby was born in 1894 in the English Midlands. His childhood was unremarkable. His father worked in manufacturing. His mother kept house. Young Hal showed an aptitude for mechanics and an obsession with detail. He took apart clocks to understand their workings. He sketched machines in notebooks. He asked questions until adults grew tired of answering. When war broke out in 1914, Kirby enlisted. He was 20 years old. He joined the Royal Flying Corps, the precursor to the RAF, and trained as an observer. In those early days, aircraft were fragile things of wood and canvas. They carried no weapons. Their purpose was reconnaissance, to spot enemy positions, map trenches, and report troop movements. Observers sat in open cockpits with notebooks and cameras. They froze at altitude. They endured turbulence. They learned to read landscapes from above. Kirby was good at it. He had the patience to scan terrain for hours. He could estimate distances, count vehicles, and sketch fortifications while the aircraft bucked and swayed. Pilots trusted him. Commanders relied on his reports. He survived 2 years of observation missions, a feat that required both skill and luck. After the war, Kirby stayed in the RAF. He became a pilot. He flew Sopwith Snipes, then Bristol fighters, then a succession of training aircraft. He served in remote postings where combat was rare, but flying was constant. In India, he learned to navigate by terrain features alone. In Iraq, he flew mail and supplies across hundreds of miles of sand. In Egypt, he studied the desert's moods, how heat affected lift, how dust changed visibility, how the sun played tricks on depth perception. He became a meticulous flyer. He checked every control surface before takeoff. He monitored engine temperatures obsessively. He landed with fuel to spare, always. Other pilots called him cautious. Kirby called it survival. By 1941, he had logged thousands of flight hours. He knew how aircraft behaved at the edge of their performance envelopes. He understood how to coax speed from an underpowered engine, how to tighten a turn without stalling, how to judge deflection angles in a gun sight. Experience had made him precise, but precision was not glamour. The young pilots of 33 Squadron were aggressive, instinctive, and fearless. They dove into dogfights with throttles wide open. They took risks Kirby would never take. Some survived, many did not. Kirby watched them burn in and said nothing. He simply kept flying. His commanding officer noted his consistency. Kirby did not score many kills, but he never lost a wingman. He completed every mission assigned. He brought damaged aircraft home when others would have bailed out. He was reliable in a war that rewarded audacity. It was a kind of heroism no one celebrated. In the spring of 1941, the squadron was based at a forward airstrip near Tobruk. The Axis advance had stalled, but the skies remained contested. Every day brought scrambles, interceptions, and patrols. The Gladiators were hopelessly outclassed by modern fighters, but they still flew. Pilots joked that the only thing older than their aircraft was Kirby himself. He took the jokes in silence. Age had taught him that proving oneself required no words. The Regia Aeronautica operated with confidence over Libya. Their Fiat CR-42 Falco biplanes were agile and well-armed. Their pilots were trained, disciplined, and numerous. Italian formations often flew in groups of 10 or more, providing mutual support and overwhelming single defenders. The RAF struggled to match their numbers. British fighters flew alone or in pairs, scrambling to intercept raids that came in waves. On April 24, 1941, intelligence reported a large Italian formation heading toward Allied positions near Tobruk. The enemy aircraft were a mix of bombers and fighter escorts. Estimates ranged from 15 to 20 aircraft. Number 33 Squadron was ordered to intercept. Most of the squadron was already airborne or grounded for maintenance. Only a handful of Gladiators were serviceable. Kirby's aircraft was fueled and armed. He was assigned a patrol sector to the west. He took off alone. The problem was mathematical. One Gladiator versus a formation of 15 or more enemy fighters. Young Hal showed an aptitude for mechanics and an obsession with detail. He took apart clocks to understand their workings. He sketched machines in notebooks. He asked questions until adults grew tired of answering. When war broke out in 1914, Kirby enlisted. He was 20 years old. He joined the Royal Flying Corps, the precursor to the RAF, and trained as an observer. In those early days, aircraft were fragile things of wood and canvas. They carried no weapons. Their purpose was reconnaissance, to spot enemy positions, map trenches, and report troop movements. Observers sat in open cockpits with notebooks and cameras. They froze at altitude. They endured turbulence. They learned to read landscapes from above. Kirby was good at it. He had the patience to scan terrain for hours. He could estimate distances, count vehicles, and sketch fortifications while the aircraft bucked and swayed. Pilots trusted him. Commanders relied on his reports. He survived 2 years of observation missions, a feat that required both skill and luck. After the war, Kirby stayed in the RAF. He became a pilot. He flew Sopwith Snipes, then Bristol fighters, then a succession of training aircraft. He served in remote postings where combat was rare, but flying was constant. In India, he learned to navigate by terrain features alone. In Iraq, he flew mail and supplies across hundreds of miles of sand. In Egypt, he studied the desert's moods, how heat affected lift, how dust changed visibility, how the sun played tricks on depth perception. He became a meticulous flyer. He checked every control surface before takeoff. He monitored engine temperatures obsessively. He landed with fuel to spare, always. Other pilots called him cautious. Kirby called it survival. By 1941, he had logged thousands of flight hours. He knew how aircraft behaved at the edge of their performance envelopes. He understood how to coax speed from an underpowered engine, how to tighten a turn without stalling, how to judge deflection angles in a gun sight. Experience had made him precise, but precision was not glamour. The young pilots of 33 Squadron were aggressive, instinctive, and fearless. They dove into dogfights with throttles wide open. They took risks Kirby would never take. Some survived, many did not. Kirby watched them burn in and said nothing. He simply kept flying. His commanding officer noted his consistency. Kirby did not score many kills, but he never lost a wingman. He completed every mission assigned. He brought damaged aircraft home when others would have bailed out. He was reliable in a war that rewarded audacity. It was a kind of heroism no one celebrated. In the spring of 1941, the squadron was based at a forward airstrip near Tobruk. The Axis advance had stalled, but the skies remained contested. Every day brought scrambles, interceptions, and patrols. The Gladiators were hopelessly outclassed by modern fighters, but they still flew. Pilots joked that the only thing older than their aircraft was Kirby himself. He took the jokes in silence. Age had taught him that proving oneself required no words. The Regia Aeronautica operated with confidence over Libya. Their Fiat CR-42 Falco biplanes were agile and well-armed. Their pilots were trained, disciplined, and numerous. Italian formations often flew in groups of 10 or more, providing mutual support and overwhelming single defenders. The RAF struggled to match their numbers. British fighters flew alone or in pairs, scrambling to intercept raids that came in waves. On April 24, 1941, intelligence reported a large Italian formation heading toward Allied positions near Tobruk. The enemy aircraft were a mix of bombers and fighter escorts. Estimates ranged from 15 to 20 aircraft. Number 33 Squadron was ordered to intercept. Most of the squadron was already airborne or grounded for maintenance. Only a handful of Gladiators were serviceable. Kirby's aircraft was fueled and armed. He was assigned a patrol sector to the west. He took off alone. The problem was mathematical. One Gladiator versus a formation of 15 or more enemy fighters.
The odds were not survivable. Doctrine said to avoid engagement unless you had altitude, position, and backup. Kirby had none of those. The logical choice was to observe, report, and withdraw. But the enemy formation was heading directly toward British ground forces. If they were not intercepted, they would drop their ordnance unopposed. Men would die, equipment would burn, the front line would contract. Kirby had a choice: follow doctrine and survive, or engage and accept the mathematics. He banked toward the enemy formation. The Gloucester Gladiator was a relic. Its maximum speed was barely over 250 miles per hour. It carried 4 .303 Browning machine guns, effective only at close range. Its fabric-covered fuselage offered no armor. A single burst from a cannon could tear it apart. Against modern monoplanes, it was a death trap. Against a formation of biplanes, it had one advantage: maneuverability. Kirby knew his aircraft intimately. He knew how tight he could turn before the wings lost lift. He knew the exact throttle setting that gave maximum climb without overheating. He knew how to use the sun, the horizon, and the enemy's blind spots. He had learned these things over decades in 100 different skies. Now he would test whether experience could overcome numbers. The Italian formation flew in tight V-shapes, layered at different altitudes. The bombers were in the center, surrounded by fighters. The escorts flew lazy S-turns to stay with the slower bombers. They were confident. They expected no opposition. The British had few aircraft left, and those few avoided large formations. Kirby climbed to gain altitude. The Gladiator shuddered as he pulled back on the stick. The engine strained. The desert fell away below. He scanned the sky, counting silhouettes. 14 fighters, 3 bombers, 17 aircraft total, 1 against 17. He checked his gun switches. He adjusted his gun sight. He took a long breath and dove. The first pass came from above and behind. Kirby picked the rearmost fighter and closed to within 100 yards before firing. His tracers stitched across the Fiat's wings. Fabric tore. The Italian fighter rolled right and dove. Kirby did not follow. He pulled up sharply, gaining altitude before the formation reacted. The escort pilots scattered. They broke formation and turned to engage. The bombers continued straight, their crews trusting the fighters to handle the lone attacker. The Italians expected a short fight, 1 British biplane against 14 fighters. This would be over in minutes. Kirby had no intention of dogfighting 14 aircraft at once. His strategy was simple: strike, climb, reset. Never stay in one position. Never give them a steady target. Use speed only when necessary. Use maneuverability constantly. Force them to chase. Make them react. He climbed again. The Gladiator clawed for altitude. Below, the Italian fighters circled like wolves. They formed pairs and climbed to cut him off. Kirby watched their spacing. He saw gaps. He rolled inverted and dove through the middle of their formation. 2 Fiats turned to follow. Kirby pulled into a steep climbing turn to the left. The Gladiator's turn radius was tighter than the Fiat's. He came around inside their arcs and fired a burst into the nearest aircraft. Smoke poured from its engine. It fell away in a spiral. The second Fiat overshot. Kirby reversed his turn and climbed again. The Italian formation was no longer coordinated. Pilots chased individually, each trying to score the kill. Their discipline had fractured. Kirby used that. He dove again, this time targeting a fighter climbing toward him head-on. Both aircraft fired. Tracers crossed in the Kong between them. Kirby's rounds hit the Fiat's cowling. The Italian pulled up sharply, trailing smoke. Kirby rolled right and climbed. The fight became a vertical dance. Kirby climbed, dove, turned, and fired in rapid cycles. He never stayed level. He never flew straight. The Italians pursued, but their attacks were uncoordinated. They got in each other's way. 2 fighters nearly collided, trying to follow Kirby through a turn. He picked them off one at a time. A snapshot into a fighter climbing too slowly. A deflection burst into one turning to cut him off. A head-on pass that sent another Fiat spinning earthward. Each engagement lasted seconds. Each attack ended with Kirby climbing back to altitude before the next wave arrived. The Italians grew frustrated. They expected the Gladiator to run or to fall. Instead, it kept coming. They fired long bursts and missed. They chased and lost position. Their formation dissolved into a chaotic swirl of individual duels. Kirby's fuel gauge dropped. His ammunition counters ticked down. His arms ached from pulling high G turns. Sweat soaked his flight suit, but he did not stop. Every time a Fiat lined up a shot, Kirby turned inside it. Every time they tried to box him in, He dove or climbed through gaps they didn't see. After 20 minutes, the Italian bombers turned back. Their escort was too scattered to protect them. The fighters, low on fuel and demoralized, disengaged. They scattered toward their home airfield in ones and twos. Kirby climbed to altitude and watched them go. He counted. 14 fighters had engaged. 5 were confirmed destroyed or damaged badly enough to leave the fight. The rest fled. Not one bomb had fallen on Allied positions. Kirby turned east and flew home. His engine coughed. His fuel was nearly gone. He landed at the forward strip with less than 10 minutes of fuel remaining. Ground crews swarmed his Gladiator. They counted the holes in the wings. They marveled that the aircraft still flew. Kirby climbed out slowly. He said nothing. He walked to the operations tent and filed his report. 1 pilot, 14 fighters engaged, 5 claimed. Formation turned back. He wrote it in plain language, no embellishment. His commanding officer read it twice. He asked Kirby to repeat the details. Kirby did. The CO contacted other units for confirmation.
Observation posts had seen the engagement. The Italian formation had indeed turned back. Wreckage was spotted in the desert. The claims were verified. News spread through the squadron. The old man had done it. Against all logic, against all doctrine, he had broken an enemy formation single-handedly. Some pilots were stunned. Others were inspired. A few still called it luck. Kirby called it nothing. He returned to his tent, cleaned his gear, and slept. The engagement on April 24th was not an isolated miracle. It was the application of principles Kirby had honed over decades. He had learned patience in reconnaissance missions. He had learned precision in navigation. He had learned discipline in survival. These were not the skills of a young ace. They were the skills of a craftsman who had spent a lifetime perfecting his work. Combat between biplanes was different from combat between monoplanes. Speed mattered less, maneuverability mattered more. A pilot who could control his aircraft at the edge of a stall, who could judge deflection angles by instinct, who could stay calm while tracer rounds flashed past his canopy, that pilot had an advantage no amount of youth could replicate. Kirby had all of those skills. He also had something rarer, situational awareness. He could track multiple aircraft while engaging one. He knew when to press an attack and when to break off. He understood that surviving a fight was more important than scoring a kill. Dead aces were just dead. His tactics were methodical. He used altitude as currency, spending it only when necessary and always working to regain it. He attacked from unexpected angles, forcing opponents to react rather than dictate the engagement. He never pursued damaged aircraft deep into enemy territory. He never lingered after a successful pass. He fought with the cold efficiency of a man who knew that emotion was a liability. The younger pilots in 33 Squadron began to watch him. They noticed how he positioned himself before an engagement. They saw how he used the sun and clouds. They learned that aggression without discipline was suicide. Some adopted his methods. Their survival rates improved. Kirby did not teach formally. He simply flew, but his example was a lesson in itself. In the weeks following the April 24th engagement, the squadron's morale shifted. The Gladiator was still obsolete, the odds were still terrible, but Kirby had proven that skill could compensate for technology, that experience could overcome numbers, that an old man could outfight pilots half his age if he flew smarter, not harder. Command took notice. Reports of Kirby's engagement reached higher headquarters. The RAF needed heroes. The Desert War was grinding and brutal. Public morale required stories of triumph. Kirby's story was perfect. The underdog, the obsolete aircraft, the impossible odds. But Kirby refused publicity. He declined interviews. He avoided photographers. He was not interested in medals or commendations. He wanted to fly. Anything else was distraction. His commanders respected that. They gave him more missions. They let him choose his patrols. They trusted his judgment. In a war that worshipped youth,
Kirby had earned the rarest form of respect: autonomy. He continued flying combat missions through the spring and summer of 1941. He engaged enemy formations whenever they appeared. He scored additional kills. He protected convoys, escorted bombers, and intercepted raids. He never lost a wingman when he flew with one. He never failed to return from a mission. His final tally was never officially confirmed. Records from the Desert War are incomplete. Aircraft went down over vast stretches of sand where no one could verify wreckage. Pilots exaggerated. Intelligence double-counted claims. But squadron logs credit Kirby with at least 9 confirmed aerial victories, and likely more. For a man flying an obsolete biplane at age 47, it was an astonishing record. The impact of Kirby's success rippled beyond his squadron. His engagement on April 24th became a case study in tactics schools. Instructors analyzed his use of altitude, his economy of ammunition, his refusal to be baited into prolonged chases. They taught his methods to new pilots, framing them as principles of defensive combat. The Gladiator itself gained a reprieve. Though obsolete, it remained in service longer than planned. Commanders realized that in the hands of a skilled pilot, even outdated aircraft could be effective. The Gladiator's tight turn radius and rugged construction made it useful for ground attack and close escort missions. It served in the Mediterranean and North Africa until mid-1942, far longer than anyone expected. Kirby's example also challenged assumptions about age in combat aviation. The RAF began reconsidering mandatory retirement ages for pilots. Experience, they realized, was not a synonym for obsolescence. Older pilots had value. They trained younger ones. They brought calm to chaotic situations. They made fewer mistakes. This shift in thinking influenced policy. The RAF expanded roles for veteran pilots, using them as flight instructors, tactical advisors, and test pilots. Men who would have been grounded were kept in service. Some, like Kirby, continued flying combat missions. Others shaped the next generation of airmen. Kirby's combat record also undermined the myth of the young ace. The public loved stories of dashing 20-year-olds downing enemy aircraft in blazing dogfights. But the reality was more complex. Many of the RAF's most effective pilots were older men who flew with discipline rather than bravado. They survived longer. They trained others. They influenced tactics. Their contributions were quieter, but no less vital. In the broader context of the Desert War, Kirby's actions on April 24th had strategic value. The Italian bomber formation he turned back would have struck Allied supply lines or troop positions. His interception prevented casualties and preserved equipment. One man, flying one aircraft, had altered the outcome of a day. Multiply that across hundreds of such engagements, and individual courage becomes collective survival. After the war, historians studied the Desert Air Campaign. They documented the tactics, the aircraft, and the pilots. Kirby's name appeared in squadron histories and memoirs, often in footnotes. He was not famous. He did not write a book. He gave no speeches, but those who flew with him remembered. They told their own children about the old man who refused to quit. Hal Kirby survived the war. He flew combat missions in North Africa until late 1941, when he was finally reassigned to training duties in England. He instructed new pilots through 1943, passing on the lessons learned over decades of flight. He retired from the RAF in 1945 with the rank of squadron leader, a quiet promotion that came decades late. He returned to civilian life without ceremony. He lived modestly in a small town in the Midlands. He rarely spoke of the war. When asked, he said only that he had done his job. His neighbors knew him as a polite, reserved man who tended a garden and walked to the post office each morning. Most did not know he had flown combat missions. Fewer still knew what he had accomplished. Kirby died in 1971 at the age of 77. His obituary in the local paper was brief. It mentioned his RAF service, but gave no details. There was no military funeral, no dignitaries attended. He was buried in a quiet churchyard under a simple stone. But in the years since, his story has been rediscovered. Aviation historians combing through squadron records found his reports. They verified his claims. They pieced together the events of April 24, 1941, and marveled. One man, one biplane, 14 fighters. It defied logic. It defied doctrine. Yet it happened. Kirby's legacy is not of fame. It is one of proof. Proof that skill outlasts youth, that experience can compensate for technology, that courage does not diminish with age. He was mocked for being too old, dismissed as obsolete, and then he climbed into an outdated aircraft and did what no one thought possible. He did not do it for glory. He did it because the mission required it, because men on the ground needed protection, because the mathematics of the moment demanded action regardless of the odds. He flew because that was what he knew how to do, and he did it with the precision of a craftsman and the resolve of a man who had long ago accepted that survival was not guaranteed. His story teaches a simple lesson. Wars are won not only by the boldest or the youngest, but by those who refuse to accept limits imposed by others, who see opportunity where others see futility, who bring decades of hard-won knowledge to a moment of crisis and apply it without hesitation. Hal Kirby did not seek to be remembered. He sought only to fly. But in flying, he proved something timeless, that age is not the enemy of valor, that the old can outfight the young when wisdom meets will, that one person armed with skill and stubborn courage can change the course of an afternoon, and in doing so, change the course of war. He was 47 years old. His hands were steady, and when the sky demanded an answer, he gave it in fire and precision.